Admiral Kate Mitchell hadn't slept in 36 hours, but the coffee in her weathered hands had gone cold, forgotten. Her steel-gray eyes remained fixed on the tactical display aboard the HFY Thermopyla's bridge, watching the routine patrol patterns of humanity's United Space Fleet along the outer rim. Everything was normal. Too normal. Status report on the quantum fluctuation readings in Sector 7. She called out, her voice carrying the weight of 25 years of command experience. The bridge crew responded with practiced efficiency, but she noticed the slight tension in their movements. They felt it too. Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez, her sensor chief, cleared his throat. Still within expected parameters. Admiral, what? He hesitated, fingers dancing across his holographic interface. There's something about the background radiation that doesn't sit right. It's like watching heat waves off hot asphalt. You know something's there, but you can't quite grasp it. Mitchell nodded, setting down her cold coffee. She'd learned long ago to trust her crew's instincts. The Thermopyla wasn't just Earth's flagship. It was home to the finest space warfare specialists humanity had ever trained. Show me the last 48 hours of sensor data compiled. The main view screen blazed to life, displaying a complex tapestry of quantum readings, gravitational fluctuations, and space-time distortions. To most, it would look like cosmic noise, but Mitchell saw patterns, whispers of something massive stirring in the void. "Mom!" The shout came from Ensign Sarah Cooper at the long-range detection station. Multiple quantum ruptures forming at grid coordinates 227 Mark 384. Scale is, this can't be right. Mitchell was already moving, her magnetic boots clicking against the deck plates as she crossed to Cooper's station. The readings made her blood run cold. Sound general quarters. Now. The alarm's deep bass tone reverberated through the massive warship. Captain Thomas Ward, her executive officer, immediately began coordinating the crew's battle station's response. All hands, this is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Admiral. Rodriguez called out, his voice tight. First visual contact. Putting it on main screen. The bridge fell silent as the image resolved. Through tears in the fabric of space itself, they emerged, crystalline ships of impossible size, their surfaces refracting starlight like faceted diamonds. The Archean Empire had returned, and they'd brought an armada that dwarfed anything humanity had ever encountered. Tactical analysis, Mitchell ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. I'm counting at least 300 capital ships, each one larger than anything in our fleet, Ward reported. Their formation, it's perfect, geometrically perfect, like a lattice structure. Mitchell studied the display, her mind racing through years of tactical training and historical battles. The Archean's ships moved with mathematical precision, each vessel maintaining exact distances from its neighbors, creating an ever-shifting crystal matrix in space. Open a channel to Fleet Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha. Then get me firing solutions for every ship we can target. If they're here for what I think they're here for, we're going to need them. As her crew rushed to comply, Mitchell allowed herself a moment to truly appreciate the terrible beauty of the scene before her. The Archean ships glided through space like living geometry, their crystalline hulls pulsing with energy that human science barely understood. They were everything humanity wasn't. Perfect, ordered, precise. And that, she realized with sudden clarity, might be their greatest weakness. The quantum communications array hummed to life. Fleet Command responding, Admiral. Mitchell straightened her uniform, eyes never leaving the tactical display. This is Admiral Catherine Mitchell aboard HFY Thermopyla. We have multiple contacts, confirmed Archean Empire vessels. Numbers unprecedented. Request immediate authorization to implement Emergency War Protocol 7. The response was instant, telling her Fleet Command had been watching the same sensor data. Authorization granted. Admiral. God help us all. Mitchell's lips curved into a tight smile. God helps those who help themselves, she muttered, then raised her voice. All hands, prepare for combat. Today's the day we remind the galaxy why humanity survived every extinction event our world could throw at us. She turned to face her bridge crew, seeing not fear in their eyes, but determination. We are about to make history. Let's make it count. The message from the Archon Empire arrived with crystalline clarity, its quantum-encoded transmission bypassing all encryption protocols as if they weren't there. Admiral Mitchell watched the alien commander materialize in a holographic display at the center of the Thermopyla's bridge, a beam of living crystal and light, its faceted features arranged in what passed for their species' version of contempt. Primitive vessels, the entity's translated voice resonated through the bridge speakers. Your existence in this sector has been tolerated long enough. Surrender your worlds or face extinction. You have one standard rotation to comply. Mitchell stood from her command chair, facing the hologram with quiet dignity. This is Admiral Catherine Mitchell of the Earth Federation Space Force. We acknowledge your message. She paused, allowing a slight smile to cross her face. And we decline. The crystalline being's features shifted, fragments of light refracting through its form in what Mitchell had learned to recognize as surprise. You decline. Perhaps your translation matrices are malfunctioning. We are offering you survival. No, Mitchell replied. You're offering us submission. Humanity doesn't do well with that concept. She nodded to Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, who killed the transmission. Captain Ward moved to her side, his voice low. They're deploying into attack formation, Admiral. It's like watching a damn bullet out there. Mitchell studied the tactical display, watching the Archon fleet arrange itself into a perfect three-dimensional geometric pattern. Each ship maintained exact distances from its neighbors, creating a lattice structure that would allow them to focus their energy weapons through one another, amplifying their already formidable firepower. Tell me what you see, Thomas, she said, using her XO's first name. Something she only did when she was about to do something crazy. Ward frowned at the display. Their formation is flawless. Each ship covers the other's blind spots. Their firing solutions would be. His eyes widened. Wait, they're using the same base formation they used in the Battle of Proxima Centauri, just scaled up. Mitchell's smile grew sharper. Exactly. They're perfect. Predictable. She turned to address the bridge crew. Everyone remember their history lessons about the Battle of Waterloo, about how the most disciplined army in Europe was defeated. Chaos and adaptation. Rodriguez answered from his station. Napoleon's forces couldn't adapt when things didn't go according to their perfect plans. Initiate Operation Wildcard, Mitchell commanded. All ships, break formation on my mark. Execute randomized pattern Delta 7. The crew jumped into action, their hands flying over control interfaces as they transmitted the orders to the rest of the fleet. The Archon ships drew closer, their crystal hulls beginning to pulse with building energy. They're powering up their main weapons, Ward reported. Time to impact. 30 seconds. Mitchell keyed her fleet-wide comm. All ships, execute random pattern now. I want every vessel moving on its own vector. Make it messy, people. Give them chaos. The human fleet exploded into motion, each ship breaking formation in a different direction. To the Archon's perfect tactical computers, it must have looked like panic. But Mitchell knew better. Each seemingly random course was actually calculated to create maximum confusion while maintaining tactical advantage. The first Archon salvos missed entirely, their targeting computers unable to predict the erratic movements of the human vessels. Mitchell watched with grim satisfaction as the alien fleet's perfect formation began to show signs of strain, ships adjusting positions to compensate for the unexpected tactics. Launch penetrator drones, she ordered. Random attack patterns, full spectrum ECM. Let's give them something else to think about. Hundreds of small, unmanned craft streaked from the human ship's launch bays, their electronic warfare suites flooding the battlefield with conflicting signals and false targets. The Archon formation wavered further as their sensors struggled to differentiate real threats from false ones. Admiral, Ward called out, They're transmitting again. The crystalline commander reappeared, its features now arranged in what Mitchell recognized as agitation. Your tactics are illogical. You cannot hope to prevail through such disorder. Mitchell stepped forward, meeting the hologram's gaze. That's where you're wrong. Humanity was born in chaos, shaped by it, thrived in it. You're about to learn why that makes us dangerous. She turned to her tactical officer. Target their command ship. All batteries. Fire at will. The void lit up with human weapons fire, and the real battle began. The EFS Thermopylae shuddered as another Archon energy beam sliced through the void where they'd been moments before. Admiral Mitchell gripped her command chair, watching the tactical display with intense focus as her fleet executed maneuvers that would have made ancient fighter pilots proud. Damage report. She called out, even as the inertial dampeners struggled to compensate for their evasive pattern. Shields holding at 63%. Captain Ward responded, his hands dancing across his console. The Yorktown and Sentinel are reporting similar numbers. The randomized patterns are working. They can't get a solid lock on any of our ships. Mitchell nodded, her mind racing through centuries of military history. Show me the Archon fleet's current formation. The main display shifted, revealing the crystalline armada's attempts to adapt to the human fleet's chaotic movements. Their perfect geometric patterns were beginning to show signs of strain, like a crystal lattice under too much pressure. Look at that, she murmured, pointing to a section of their formation. They're trying to maintain their standard attack pattern while compensating for our movements. Their ships are actually fighting against each other's course corrections. Rodriguez's voice cut through the bridge's tension. Admiral, I'm detecting power fluctuations in their shield grid. Their formation's irregularities are affecting their energy distribution network. Now that's interesting, Mitchell said, leaning forward. All ships, execute Phase 2 of Operation Wildcard. Launch the weather packages. The human fleet responded instantly, releasing clouds of specialized nanites into space. To the Archon's sensors, they would appear as simple debris clouds, the kind of primitive countermeasure they would expect from inferior human technology. Ma'am, Ward cautioned, the Archons are launching their drone swarms. Looks like they're trying to establish a targeting grid independent of their main fleet's formation. Mitchell allowed herself a small smile. Exactly as expected. All ships, execute the Hornet's Nest protocol. The human fleet's seemingly random movements suddenly shifted, taking on patterns that would have been familiar to anyone who'd studied Earth's weather systems. Ships moved like wind currents, creating artificial turbulence patterns that drew the Archon drones into natural-looking, but carefully calculated chaos. Energy spike from the Archon command ship. Rodriguez called out, "They're charging something big." "Now we'll see if the history lessons paid off," Mitchell muttered. "All ships, prepare to execute the Trafalgar Gambit on my mark." The massive Archon vessel's crystal structure began to pulse with blinding energy, its perfect geometric form focusing power in a way human science barely understood. But Mitchell wasn't interested in understanding it. She was interested in defeating it. "Admiral," Ward's voice was tense, "if that hits us." "It won't," Mitchell cut him off. "Execute Trafalgar Gambit now." The human fleet moved as one, each ship suddenly breaking its weather pattern to drive straight at the Archon formation. It was a move borrowed from Admiral Nelson himself, when faced with a superior enemy line, break their formation by charging straight through it. The Archon command ship fired, its energy beam powerful enough to vaporize a small moon. But the human ships were no longer where their tactical computers predicted. Instead, the beam passed harmlessly through the nanite cloud, which suddenly came alive with electromagnetic activity. "Direct hit on their sensor grid," Rodriguez shouted triumphantly. "The nanites are interfering with their crystalline resonance patterns." Mitchell keyed her fleet-wide comm. "All ships, push through their lines now. Don't give them time to re-establish their formation." The void erupted in chaos as human warships dove through gaps in the Archon formation, their apparent suicide run disrupting the aliens' perfect geometric patterns completely. Energy beams meant to be amplified through their formation instead reflected wildly as their ships struggled to maintain position. Status of the weather package, Mitchell demanded. Nanites are at optimal density, Rodriguez reported. Ready to begin Phase 3 whenever you give the word. Admiral Mitchell stood, watching as her fleet danced through the massive alien warships like mosquitoes harassing elephants. Send word to all ships. Prepare to execute Operation Thunderstorm. It's time to show these perfect beings what humanity learned from Earth's most powerful forces of nature. Status of Operation Thunderstorm. Admiral Mitchell's voice cut through the controlled chaos of the Thermopyla's bridge. The massive view screen before her showed the Archon fleet struggling to reorganize after the human ship's devastating charge through their formation. Nanite clouds are reaching critical density, Rodriguez reported, his fingers flying across his console. The electromagnetic field is building exactly as predicted. 10 minutes until we achieve the resonance frequency we need. Mitchell nodded, watching as her fleet continued their seemingly erratic maneuvers. Each ship's course had been precisely calculated to spread the nanite cloud in a complex, three-dimensional web, though to the Archons it would appear as random retreat patterns. Admiral. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper called from her station. 3 Archon cruisers breaking formation. They're pursuing the Yorktown. Right on schedule, Mitchell muttered. She keyed her comm. Yorktown, maintain your course. Keep them following you through sectors 7 through 9. The response came back crisp and clear. Understood, Admiral. We're leaving a nice breadcrumb trail for them. The tactical display showed the Yorktown weaving through debris fields, its wake seeding more nanites that the pursuing Archon ships blindly plowed through. Their crystalline hulls glittered as they passed through the invisible cloud, unknowingly picking up microscopic hitchhikers. First resonance patterns detected, Rodriguez announced, excitement creeping into his professional tone. The nanites are successfully bonding to their hull matrices. Captain Ward moved to Mitchell's side, his voice low. The Archons are launching another wave of drones. They're trying to establish a targeting grid again. Let them, Mitchell replied, a predatory smile crossing her face. Those drones will just help spread our web faster. Status of the Hornet's Nest Protocol. All ships report ready, Ward confirmed. Waiting for your signal. The massive view screen showed more Archon ships breaking their reforming patterns, moving to pursue what they perceived as fleeing human vessels. Their tactical computers, programmed for perfect geometric warfare, saw only targets to be eliminated, not the trap they were swimming into. Ma'am, Cooper interrupted. The Archon command ship is transmitting again. The crystalline commander's hologram materialized, its faceted features arranged in what Mitchell had learned to recognize as frustration. Your tactics are inefficient. You merely delay the inevitable. Surrender now, and we will make your extinction swift. Mitchell stood, facing the hologram. You know what your problem is. You see our inefficient tactics and think we're just running scared. You never stop to ask why a species that survived everything Earth could throw at us would resort to flight instead of fight. The Archon commander's crystalline form shifted. Your primitive observations are irreal. Rodriguez. Mitchell cut it off. Initiate the resonance pulse. All ships. Execute Hornet's Nest Protocol now. The space around the human fleet suddenly came alive with energy as hundreds of specialized electromagnetic emitters activated simultaneously. The nanite clouds, now thoroughly dispersed through the battlefield, began to vibrate at precisely calculated frequencies. The effect on the Archon ships was immediate and devastating. Their crystalline hulls, designed to channel and amplify energy in perfect geometric patterns, began resonating with the nanites that had attached to them. The microscopic machines transmitted these vibrations through their hulls like a virus through a neural network. Multiple Archon vessels reporting shield fluctuations, Ward called out, reading the sensor data. Their formation is completely breaking down. Now they learn why humanity studies history, Mitchell said, watching as the trap snapped shut. We remember what happened to the Titanic when a small piece of ice hit the right spot. All ships, engage Phase 2 of Operation Thunderstorm. Target the stress points the nanites have created. The human fleet's apparently random movements suddenly coalesced into a coordinated attack pattern. Each ship fired precisely calibrated energy pulses at the weakened sections of Archon hulls, turning their own perfect crystalline structure against them. Admiral Rodriguez reported with barely contained excitement, the resonance effect is cascading through their fleet. Their ship's energy distribution networks are failing. Mitchell's smile was fierce as she watched the mighty Archon fleet begin to splinter under the assault. Send word to all ships. Execute attack pattern Delta Strike. Show these perfect beings what chaos can really do. Space itself seemed to shatter as the first Archon cruiser broke apart, its crystalline hull fracturing along the stress lines created by the nanite infiltration. The explosion sent prismatic shards spinning through the void, each fragment reflecting starlight like a deadly kaleidoscope. Multiple detonations detected across the Archon fleet, Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the excitement of the moment. The resonance cascade is exceeding our projections. Their ships are literally shaking themselves apart. Admiral Mitchell stood at the tactical display, her eyes tracking the destruction spreading through the enemy fleet. Status of our ship's shield systems. Holding at 47%, Ward replied. The crystalline debris is actually working in our favor. The Archons can't get clear targeting solutions through their own wreckage. The massive view screen showed the battle in all its chaotic glory. Human ships darted between the larger Archon vessels, their seemingly random flight patterns now revealed as a complex dance designed to spread more nanites and target structural weaknesses. Admiral Cooper called out urgently, the Archon command ship is changing configuration. Their crystal matrix is evolving. Mitchell's eyes narrowed as she watched the enormous vessel's structure begin to shift and flow like liquid glass. They're adapting. All ships, execute contingency pattern Echo 3. Don't let them stabilize their new formation. The human fleet responded instantly, breaking into smaller attack groups. Each squadron targeted a different section of the Archon fleet, preventing them from coordinating their defensive reorganization. Ma'am, Rodriguez interrupted. I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the surviving Archon ships. They're attempting to purge the nanites by superheating their hull matrices. Just as we predicted, Mitchell smiled grimly. Execute Phase 4. Deploy the ice packages. From the launch bays of every human ship streamed what appeared to be simple missiles. The Archons, their sensors focused on larger threats, paid little attention as the projectiles detonated in space around their hulls, releasing clouds of supercooled particles. The effect was devastating. The rapid temperature change caused by the flash freeze hitting their superheated hulls created catastrophic stress fractures throughout the Archon ship's crystalline structures. Multiple Archon vessels experiencing critical failures, Ward reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Their attempt to adapt just made our trap even more effective. The tactical display lit up with new warnings as the Archon command ship launched a desperate counterattack. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from its reconfigured form, cutting through space with enough power to vaporize a small moon. Evasive pattern Delta 7. Mitchell ordered. All ships, execute the Mongol retreat. The human fleet scattered in what appeared to be panic, but each ship's course was precisely calculated. Like the ancient horsemen of the steppes, they turned retreat into an offensive maneuver, drawing the Archon ships into pursuing them through their own debris field. Enemy vessels are taking pursuit vectors, Cooper confirmed. They're following our exact predicted paths. Mitchell allowed herself a tight smile. Now they learn why you never follow a retreating enemy without questioning why they're running. All ships, deploy absorption nets. Hidden among the debris of destroyed Archon ships, electromagnetic nets suddenly activated. The pursuing alien vessels, their sensors still struggling with the chaos of battle, flew right into them. Their own energy weapons, reflected and amplified by the specialized netting, turned back against them. Direct hits across their pursuit fleet. Rodriguez called out, 17 Archon ships disabled. No, make that 23. The cascade effect is spreading through their command networks. The bridge crew watched in awe as the mighty Archon fleet, with all its superior technology and perfect formations, found itself trapped in a web of its own making. Their attempts to adapt to human tactics only served to spring each new trap more effectively. Admiral Mitchell keyed her fleet-wide comm. All ships, prepare for final phase of Operation Thunderstorm. Target the command ship's primary matrix nodes. Let's show these perfect beings what happens when they underestimate humanity's capacity for creative destruction. All ships, this is Admiral Mitchell. Execute Operation Spearpoint. I say again, execute Operation Spearpoint. Her voice carried across the fleet's command channel with iron determination. The Thermopyla's bridge crew tensed, knowing what was coming. Admiral. Captain Ward's voice held a note of concern. You realize this maneuver has never been attempted outside of simulations. Mitchell's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display, watching the massive Archon command ship attempting to reorganize its surviving fleet. There's a first time for everything, Captain. Sometimes you have to roll the hard six. The main view screen showed their target in all its terrible beauty. A crystalline structure larger than any human vessel, its faceted surface still pulsing with enough energy to annihilate their entire fleet. But now, thanks to the nanite infiltration, hairline fractures ran through its perfect geometry like cracks in a diamond. All ships report ready, Rodriguez announced, forming up in tornado configuration. Mitchell nodded, her fingers tightening on the command rail. Begin the approach. Deploy the gravity wells. The human fleet moved as one, arranging themselves in a spiral pattern, inspired by Earth's most destructive natural phenomena. Specialized devices launched from their hulls, creating localized distortions in spacetime that began to influence the debris field around them. Gravitational matrix established, Cooper reported from her station. Debris field is responding to our control, ready to initiate the vortex on your command. The Archon command ship detected their approach, its crystalline surface flickering with building energy. Incoming transmission, Ward announced. The alien commander's hologram appeared, its faceted features showing what Mitchell now recognized as fear. This assault is futile. Your primitive tactics cannot breach our defenses. Retreat now, and we may yet show mercy. Mitchell smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You still don't understand what you're fighting, do you? Humanity doesn't just adapt. We transform defeat into victory. Now watch closely. You're about to see why Earth's tornadoes were our greatest teachers in warfare. She cut the transmission with a gesture. All ships, activate your gravity wells to full power. Begin the spin. The human fleet's spiral formation tightened, their specially modified engines working in concert with the gravity wells to create a massive rotating field of force. Debris from the battle, including the crystalline fragments of destroyed Archon ships, began to swirl around them like a massive celestial storm. Vortex stability at 87%, Rodriguez called out. Approaching critical velocity. The Archon command ship fired, its energy weapons lashing out with enough power to vaporize mountains, but the rotating debris field, guided by the gravity wells and charged with residual energy from the nanite attacks, absorbed and dispersed the blasts. They're trying to jump to quantum space, Cooper shouted, detecting power buildup in their drive systems. Not this time. Mitchell's voice was steel. Execute Phase 2. Release the gravity anchors. Hidden among the debris, specialized devices activated, creating localized pockets of distorted spacetime that prevented quantum field formation. The Archon ship's escape attempt sputtered and failed. We've got them locked, Ward confirmed. They can't break free of our gravitational field. Mitchell keyed her fleet-wide comm. All ships, execute final attack pattern. Remember your history lessons. This is Theta Squadron's little round top charge. The human fleet's rotating formation suddenly contracted, turning their spiral into a spear point aimed directly at the Archon command ship's most vulnerable fracture points. The debris field followed their movement, transformed into a massive kinetic weapon by their gravity wells. Impact in 10 seconds, Rodriguez announced, his voice rising with excitement. 9, 8. The Archon ship's crystalline surface blazed with desperate defensive energy, but it was too late. The combined force of the human fleet's charge, backed by the momentum of their artificial gravity storm, was unstoppable. 3, 2, 1. All ships. Mitchell's command cut through the tension, punched through their heart. Show them humanity's fury. The void erupted in light as Operation Spearpoint reached its devastating conclusion. The universe held its breath as Operation Spearpoint reached its climax. The combined force of the human fleet's gravity-enhanced charge struck the Archon command ship like a celestial battering ram, the crystalline fragments of their own destroyed vessels becoming the weapons of their undoing. Direct hit. Rodriguez's voice carried over the sound of straining hull plates. Multiple breaches detected in their primary matrix. The massive view screen showed a sight no human had ever witnessed. The Archon command ship's perfect crystalline structure spider webbing with fractures, its once flawless surface now a maze of spreading cracks. Light blazed from within as its power core destabilized. All ships, break off, Mitchell commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. Execute emergency dispersion pattern Delta. Ride the shockwave out. The human fleet scattered just as the command ship's containment fields failed. The explosion was unlike anything in human experience, a blast of quantum energy that turned space itself into a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. The thermoplus sensors momentarily overloaded, plunging the bridge into darkness. Emergency power online, Ward reported as systems gradually recovered. Shields at 12%, but holding. Casualty reports coming in from all decks, mostly minor injuries. Mitchell gripped her command rail, watching as the tactical display flickered back to life. Status of the Archon fleet. The command ship's destruction. Cooper paused, double-checking her readings. Ma'am, their entire command network is collapsing. The quantum resonance feedback is cascading through their remaining ships. The view screen cleared enough to show the aftermath. The surviving Archon vessels, their perfect formation shattered, were colliding with each other in their attempts to escape the destruction. Their crystalline hulls, already weakened by the nanite infiltration, shattered on impact. Multiple quantum field fluctuations detected. Rodriguez called out. They're trying to jump out, but their coordination is gone. Their ships are. They're actually ramming each other in panic. Mitchell watched as the mighty Archon armada, which had arrived with such overwhelming force and confidence, dissolved into chaos. Send to all ships. Hold position. Let them see what their perfect order has become. The bridge crew watched in awe as more Archon vessels succumbed to the cascade effect. Those that managed to activate their quantum drives did so randomly, some colliding with devastating results as their jump fields intersected. Admiral, Ward's voice was quiet. We're receiving transmissions from multiple Archon vessels. They're begging for mercy. Mitchell straightened her uniform, her face set in stone. Put them on screen. The holographic display showed multiple Archon commanders, their crystalline forms flickering with distress. Gone was their previous arrogance, replaced by something humans had never seen in their species before. Fear. Please, their translated voices overlapped. We submit. The battle is yours. We did not know, could not comprehend. Couldn't comprehend what? Mitchell's voice was steel. Your chaos, it is not primitive. It is sophisticated, evolved. We have never encountered its like. Our perfect order, our superior technology. You turned it all against us. Mitchell allowed herself a grim smile. Consider this your first lesson in human history. We've spent millennia fighting ourselves, learning every possible way to turn apparent weakness into strength. You thought our chaos was a disadvantage. Now you understand. It's our greatest weapon. The remaining Archean ships are powering down their weapons, Rodriguez reported. They're assuming surrender positions based on our tactical databases. Send word to Fleet Command, Mitchell ordered. The Archean threat is neutralized. And send to all human ships. Stand down to Condition 2, but maintain battle readiness. Victory is ours, but let's not get sloppy. As the bridge crew began damage control procedures, Mitchell stared at the debris field that had once been the pride of the Archean Empire. Lieutenant Cooper, record this in the ship's log. Today, humanity proved that perfection isn't invincible. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in embracing our imperfections. The stars seemed to shine brighter as the human fleet maintained their positions, standing guard over their historic victory, while the remnants of the Archean armada drifted in defeated disarray, a testament to the day space itself had trembled at humanity's might. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Kate Mitchell stood at the observation deck of the EFS Thermopylae, watching as engineering crews salvaged crystalline technology from the debris field. The stars beyond seemed to shine with new promise. Humanity had not just survived, they had reshaped the galaxy's power structure in a single engagement. Admiral, Captain Ward's voice came from behind her. The Archean delegation has arrived for the formal surrender negotiations. Mitchell nodded, turning from the viewport. Time to finish what we started. How's the crew holding up? Morale is through the roof. Ward smiled. The repair crews haven't slept much, but no one's complaining. They know they're part of history now. The walk to the diplomatic chamber gave Mitchell time to reflect on the past few days. News of the victory had spread through human space like wildfire. Colonies that had lived in fear of Archean superiority were celebrating in the streets. The impossible had been achieved. Humanity had not just defeated the undefeatable, they had shattered the myth of Archean invincibility forever. The diplomatic chamber doors slid open, revealing the Archean representatives. Their crystalline forms, once proud and imperious, now shifted with uncertainty. The lead delegates' faceted features arranged themselves in what Mitchell had learned was their expression of formal respect, something no human had ever seen before. Admiral Mitchell. The translated voice carried none of its former condescension. We are authorized to formalize the terms of our surrender and to extend our civilizations. Apologies for our grievous misunderstanding of humanity's capabilities. Mitchell took her seat at the conference table, Captain Ward and Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez flanking her. Before we begin, I want to be clear about something. This isn't just about the battle we won. It's about ensuring you understand why you lost. The Archean delegate's crystalline forms flickered with what might have been discomfort. We have analyzed the battle extensively. Your tactics were unprecedented. Our perfect formations, our superior technology. You turned them into weaknesses. Because perfection is predictable, Mitchell stated flatly. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our ability to embrace chaos, to learn from it, to turn disorder into advantage. Every natural disaster that tried to wipe us out, every war we fought against ourselves, they all taught us lessons your perfect civilization never had to learn. The lead delegate's crystalline surface rippled. We have transmitted our analysis to our homeworld. Already, our scholars are reorganizing our tactical databases, studying human history. That's not enough. Mitchell interrupted. The terms of surrender will include mandatory joint training exercises between our fleets. You want to understand humanity. Work with us. Learn why we value innovation over perfection, adaptation over tradition. The delegates conferred briefly before responding. Agreed. And there is one other matter. Our Security Council has approved an unprecedented proposal. We wish to establish a permanent human advisory board within our military command structure. Mitchell raised an eyebrow. You want human military advisors? We want teachers, the delegate corrected. The battle showed us that there are forms of warfare we never imagined, forms that cannot be learned from data analysis alone. Very well, Mitchell nodded. We'll include it in the formal terms. But remember, the lesson isn't just about military tactics. It's about understanding that true strength comes from embracing imperfection, from learning to dance with chaos instead of trying to impose perfect order. As the formal surrender proceedings began, Mitchell's thoughts drifted to the future. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had earned not just victory but respect, not just survival but influence. The Archean Empire's defeat would reshape the balance of power throughout known space. Lieutenant Rodriguez, she spoke quietly as the delegates reviewed the documents. Send one final message to Fleet Command. The day space Trembled marked the end of humanity's time as underdogs. From now on, we stand as equals among the stars, not because we achieved perfection, but because we proved that imperfection, properly embraced, is the greatest strength of all.